Hi everyone, my name is Arushi. Um, you last left off with Yulia and on cellular level of organization on the body. So the next tier is the tissue level of organization. So first off, we need to know what tissue is. It's basically a group of cells, to be frank. The way these cells are organized is what makes tissue more unique from the different types of tissue. One fun fact about tissue is that the groups of them have the same embryonic origin. That means that when you were in your mom's stomach, your tissue began developing. The last slide, on this slide, we can go over what's common in all types of tissue. They all have a tissue membrane, which is basically a thin layer of cells covering the tissue, any internal organs, passageways, or joints. On the last slide, I mentioned what's similar in all the types, but I didn't actually mention the types. So let's introduce them now, and as the presentation goes on, we'll elaborate more. We have epithelial tissue, which is also referred to as epithelium. We have connective tissue, muscular tissue, and nervous tissue as well. The epithelium is pretty common in your body. It's made of large sheets of cell that cover the exterior of your body, which is your skin, or the exterior of your organs. It also forms some glands in your body. If there's any damage to the epithelial cells, it has the ability to replace those dead ones with new ones. It's also avascular, meaning there is no blood flow directly to the tissue, which is super important in terms of healing. Okay. So the main function of epithelial tissue is to protect your body and its organs. It does so through its semi-permeable membrane, which just means it only lets selective material through. So if something harmful wants to enter your skin, like a wood chip or a knife or anything, there will be some resistance from the tissue, but obviously your skin can only resist so much, but the point is clear. Some epithelial tissue also has the ability to secrete hormones, which means release hormones. Mostly that's the tissue that forms a gland, so. Obviously, epithelium is the most complicated type of tissue, so this will be the last slide explaining everything about it. There are types of epithelium, and in this slide are the following. Squamous tissue, which means that the cells are flat and thin. Cuboidal, meaning the cells are boxy with the same width, height, and length. Columnar, meaning the cells are taller than they are wide. And then we have the layers classification, which can be simple, meaning there's a single cell layer, or stratified, meaning there are multiple cell layers. We also have pseudostratified, meaning there's a single layer of cell, but they're irregularly shaped. On this slide, we can see what they look like because I just described, and you need a visual for these things. So you can see the chart. These are what the epithelial tissue is based on the cell shape and layers, and I recommend you to pause here and look at it a little more. Here's some more diagrams of these classifications. Again, pause here to study them more. The next type of tissue is connective tissue. This type is especially important for your body as it's literally what protects you from collapsing on yourself. Connective tissue, also referred to as CT, connects and supports your organs by forming the end capsules on bones. It also transports fluid through the connective tissue that's secreted, connective tissue liquid that's secreted, and this is a liquid that surrounds blood and lymph. It also plays a small role in thermal insulation. Like epithelial tissue, there are types of connective tissue. First, we have CT proper, which mostly includes fixed cells, which are cells that never leave the CT. Then we have the most important connective tissue, the supportive connective tissue. This is what makes up your cartilage and bone, which serve for your protection and stability. You'll probably hear hyaline cartilage a lot in future lessons, so now you know what it is and it's referring to. The third type is that fluid CT, which surrounds your blood and lymph. Here we can see the CT proper, supportive CT, and fluid CT. The next type of tissue is muscular tissue. It's pretty straightforward as it's literally what makes your muscles, obviously along with more complexity, but we'll skip over that for now. Muscular tissue serves to control movement, both voluntary and involuntary. Voluntary movement is what you think of doing, like kicking a ball. Involuntary is what you think of not doing, like breathing naturally. The types of muscular tissue are skeletal, cardiac, and smooth. In this picture, you can see the different cell structures of each type. Skeletal muscle is what you think of when you think of muscle. It's attached to your bones, tendons, ligaments. When you contract muscle, it generates heat. So think about it. When you work out, you get hotter and sweatier because your muscles are working harder and they're creating heat. Skeletal muscle also controls your voluntary movements such as facial expression and other movements. Cardiac muscle tissue, on the other hand, is not found all over the body. Like the name suggests, it's only in the heart, and it's actually the tissue that forms the walls of the heart. This muscle is unique because it doesn't rely on anything else in the body to contract the heart, localizing its action to only the heart. When it does contract, it pumps blood through the heart in your body, which is an involuntary movement. Smooth muscle tissue is the muscular tissue that controls the involuntary movements of your internal organs. It's extremely prominent in your digestive, urinary, and reproductive systems. It's what contracts your bowels to help move food along. The final type of tissue we'll go over is nervous tissue. Nervous tissue is very simple. It's made of neurons and neuroglia. Neurons are what transport the message from the receptor to the brain. Neuroglia help the neurons do their job. Nervous tissue mediates these senses and your body's responses to these stimuli. So now that we know the different types of tissue and their basic functions, let's see how it gets damaged. The main injury associated with tissue is inflammation. This can be inflammation of the skin, muscle, or any of the types. This usually happens with accidental cell death called necrosis. It does not happen with normal cell death, which is apoptosis. The tissue heals itself by removing the toxins and waste from the area, and if a puncture is present, then clotting will help to heal the area, which is how you get scabs. The previous slide went over injury and repair, but as you age, tissue naturally degrades. As you get older, your skin forms wrinkles, which is just the tissue losing muscle mass and tone. It's loss of elasticity, and it becomes dry. Your nerves lose clarity as your nerves lose clarity as the nervous tissue degrades, and your height may decrease as your bones lose mass, because this is all tissue. You have muscular tissue and connective tissue. This does not happen to everyone, as regular exercise and healthy lifestyle will help maintain the tissue as best it can, but I'm sure you've heard a lot of that. So that's it for this lecture, and you'll move on to terminology next. Thank you.